Assalamu alaikum. Alhamdulillah ta'ala. نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا ومن يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. Indeed, all praise is due to Allah. We praise Him. We seek refuge with Allah from the evil in our soul and from our evil deeds. Those who are guided by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, no one can misguide them. Those who are not guided by Allah, there is no guide for them. I bear witness that there is no deity, there is no God except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is His servant and messenger. O you who believe, revere Allah as He should be revered, and die not except as Muslims. Amma ba'd. I'd like to welcome you to the Islamic Society Leading American Muslims, otherwise known as Islam Inc., an organization established to conduct dawah. An organization established to go out and invite people to learn about the true and peaceful message of Islam, and then to empower them wherever they are on their faith journey. And so no matter where you are, no matter what anybody has criticized you for, indicted you for, crucified you for, here you will not get any of that. If you do, let me know about it so I can address it. Because our policy is that we accept you for who you are and where you are in your faith journey, and we want to have a space that you feel safe in.
I will hit their head.
Yes, and my mommy will hit their head with a cane if anyone disobeys my ruling on no criticism policy. So, is there anyone here for the first time today? There's definitely one person here for the first time. Will you introduce yourself, please?
My name is my name is Amra.
And if you notice, she said Amara Nasser. So, you know, just to reiterate that this is Kareem's wife. So, mashallah, we're very happy to have both, the whole family with us today, mashallah. It's so lovely to have you.
Brother?
Yes, and please introduce yourself, brother.
Assalamualaikum. My name is Faraz Hussain. It's my first time here. I go to UCL.
Welcome, Faraz. We're very happy to have you here with us today.
It is
Faraz. Faraz.
Oh, I thought president name is Barack Obama.
No, no, Faraz. You just got Barack on your mind. But that's okay. I also want to ask everybody to make dua for Sister Hamina, whose father, Rahmat Ali, passed away last week, and when you found out about this, so please make dua for her, inshallah. The announcements are on the board. Something very different is going to take place in the month of February. Our potluck is going to be in a park. It's going to be outside at Dr. Phillips Park from 1 to 5 on February the 21st. That's different. It's not going to be in the evening. It's going to be in the afternoon. Everybody bring whatever favorite dish that you'd like to bring. And I think we're going to have a really good time there. We do need people to arrive early to reserve tables because it's a first come, first serve. Is that correct, Mason?
Yes. Yeah, it is.
Okay, so please help us. Anyone who will do that, please just arrive and take over the table.
It's an awesome park. You can bring basketballs and soccer balls,
I love it.
Yes.
frisbees.
You see a 2.5 miles.
2.5 miles from here south. Okay, it's near the, which school is that? Santa Elementary, yes. So you pass the school, you make a left, and you wind your way back into the park. Great location. I'm looking forward to it.
I think, Sue, did you post the exact address of the park?
I did.
Okay,
Okay.
so it's been
I did.
If you didn't get the post, phone me soon and make sure that you're hooked up on our.
It came through Punch Bowl. The invitation came through Punch Bowl.
Very good. And so you already know that we collect cell phones, perishable, non-perishable items, empty ink and toner cartridges, and coupons. So, by the way, you know, I want to share with you that, was it 2 weeks ago I was at St. Richard's? Or was it last week? Last Sunday morning I was at St. Richard's Episcopal Church in Winter Park, Florida, before I taught the class. And out of that lecture, I received 3 emails this week. Good emails, complimentary emails, and emails with more questions. Or could I share this answer to this question with someone else? So I just want you to know that though we look small in numbers, I think we make a tremendous difference in our community, because everywhere I go, people say, why aren't more people speaking out? So I want you to know that you may not think that $1 or $5 or $10 or $20 or the 10,000 that you donate every year makes a lot of difference, but it does. It keeps us going, and it helps us to be able to propagate this true and peaceful message of Islam, and to dispel the misnomers, the stereotypes about us, when we can show people the true and peaceful message of Islam. So I really want to thank everybody that supports ISLAM and doing that. And also, I want you all to know, just in case you don't know, that all of your donations to ISLAM are tax deductible. So if you write us a check at the end of the year, we will send you a letter, and all the donations are tax deductible. Today we're going to go to verse 142. We started in March of last year at the request of the students to do tafsir of Quran, and we have only reached verse 142 of chapter 2, Surah al-Baqarah. Now there is one more thing I want to do, and I want somebody to take this project on before I get started. It's going to be an FYI bucket or jar with a lid on it, so maybe it'll look sort of like this, and with a little slit. Any questions that you want to ask that aren't asked, if you'll write them on a piece of paper and put them in this jar, I will address them. I will take time in the class to address them every week, whatever your questions are. So it's called the FYI jar, and it was Kathy's idea. So, and I think it's a good jar. So, and what happened was Kathy said to Sister Naran, and I don't know, we were in a conversation, I think she was in a conversation with Sister Naran, actually was in the class, and we were talking about the 3 plaids, that when the women do a janaza ghusl for our sisters, there are 3 plaids. Their hair is plaited in the 3 plaids. And she didn't know that. And so just pieces of information that you want to know about, that you want clarity about, maybe the jar will just be over there, and you'll put your questions in, and I will answer them in the beginning or at the end of the class every week, your questions. So, you know, the goal is to feed. The goal is that whatever questions you have and whatever your needs are spiritually, we serve you. You know, we are your shepherds, and we want to make sure that you get fed whatever you're looking for, that you get those answers. So, today I actually want to talk a little bit, before I even recite this verse, or read this verse rather, about one constant that we all have to deal with. I just want to make sure this is a dry erasing. And that's called this. How many people, when this comes up, resist it? Yeah. If I were to say right now, Dr. Ayessa, and Dr. Ayessa, I think you're working on your second PhD, you already have it.
No, I've done second master's.
Second master's, but has a PhD. If I say to you right now, excuse me, would you move from there to over there, how would you feel?
I question it probably. I probably do it, but I wonder why.
And you wouldn't really want to, right?
Right.
Right. Anybody else just jumping up and down for me to tell you that I want you to sit somewhere different?
He would have a hissy fit.
Sit in the same place every week.
Yes, I said, I'm not moving. I'm not moving.
No.
Resistant to change.
So tell me a little bit about what change means to you. What does it do to you?
Anxiety. Anxiety.
Anxiety. It provokes anxiety. It's a disruption.
Yes.
Okay.
Definitely
Um,
provokes anxiety.
What did you say, Narin?
Definitely provokes anxiety.
Definitely provokes anxiety. What are some of the biggest changes that you experience in life? Yes, Mama?
I tell you a different story. I come here, I sit in front, I go first in Jummah prayer, and everybody come push me, move your chair back. Okay, I move there, here, there, every time. One day I got so mad, I went way back. Then they stop bothering me to move chair here, there, and there.
So you really were flexible that day when it came to change, right? You only moved your chair.
Every time you are there and they tell you move this side, move to the wall. And then when I went back there, one woman came, she said, why don't you move near the wall? I said, look, I'm not going to go to the wall. You go, you go, you go, you sit there.
So I want you to tell me what are some of the major changes in life that you experienced and what did it do to you? Let's talk a little bit about change.
It's spirit. It's spirit.
It's spiritual, physical, mental, emotional. Anyway, yes.
Change religions.
Changed religion. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was.
And we all know that when people change religions, particularly if you become a Muslim from another background, that you have a language barrier, you have cultural barriers, you have familial barriers because the family says you're a traitor, you betrayed us. You also have societal scrutiny. How many people in here that are reverts became Muslim and all of a sudden your work environment changed? And you were looked at differently, right? We had a young lady who worked for Panera. They told her, don't give any Muslims food. She said, but I am a Muslim. And from that moment,
Food samples, sweetie.
food samples.
Yes.
From that moment to the next day, her hours were cut almost completely.
Lawsuit.
She actually had to leave the job.
Lawsuit.
That is a great lawsuit, but then we know what that means too. Right? So those are some changes. One change brought about how many changes? It's a domino effect. Now, when I was coming home from work one time, when I was at the prison as an imam, by the way, just want to make sure you don't think I was an inmate. I was speeding on Highway 27 and the police stopped me. And a guy said, I need your license and registration. So I gave him my license and registration, and then he said, get out of the car. And he shoved me on the back of the car and he said, spread eagle. And I said to him, sir, I know you probably don't believe this. I really respect your authority and what you're doing, but I'm actually law enforcement. He said, yeah, I've got some bridges for sale in New York. I said, sir, I understand why I don't look like law enforcement in this white dress. But I'm asking you to reach in my pocket and get my identification because I am an imam for the U.S. Department of Justice and I have just come from work. So he reached in his pocket, and when he saw that when he reached in my pocket and saw that I was a white man with the name of Durrahman, he said, have a good evening, sir. So becoming Muslim for me changed my experiences in the judicial system. Had I not had a federal ID, I don't know what would have happened to me that night. So what are some other changes? I'm going to write one down that I think is major.
Lord.
How many of the sisters here, when you had a baby, your sleeping went from 7 hours a night to about 3?
Maybe.
Well, I can't raise my hand on that one, except I was a father in that. Just 3 ladies? Oh, 4 ladies? 5 ladies? 6, 7. Yeah. So babies may bring a major change into life. What about
Marriage.
marriage?
I thought we were talking about changes, not mistakes.
It's a good thing your wife's from Pakistan, brother.
Let the record show. I'm texting her now. Thank you. Get them on
What about jobs? Jobs a major transition, right?
Oh, you changed school.
Moving, school. And I'm changing from this marker because it's not writing very well to another one. So, actually, I've got one in the bag. What other changes?
I think changing behavior is tough.
Okay.
What you're accustomed to doing for X amount of years and then changing the way, behavior is hard.
Health? Yeah, think about the nuns. They change their habit every day.
So are you talking reward and convert both or just the convert?
I'm talking to everybody.
Okay,
Yes, everybody.
that's what I thought.
So now, these are some things that we experience as change. What are some of the major changes that you think Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam experienced?
Well, moving, definitely, I mean, that was leaving better to go to Medina.
So migration.
Migration, yeah.
Violence and hatred from people.
Marriage, persecution.
So he went from being the Alameen, the trustworthy, to being the one who was persecuted. So we'll call that, what do we want to call that?
Outcast.
Outcast? I think he went through a lot of changes because he had 13 of these. I'm not going to call it what Nasser did. What are some of the actual changes that the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ went through? I want to talk about, how many people know that there were actually 2 migrations?
Yes.
Where was the first migration?
In the beginning.
Medina was the second migration.
Yathrib.
Yathrib means Medina. A lot of people think that.
I forgot that little city.
Abyssinia.
Yeah, Abyssinia.
All right. So 2 migrations because of persecution. What kind of other changes did he go through?
He went through spiritual changes as well.
He went through spiritual changes.
From not being a prophet to being a prophet.
Yeah, from
Receiving revelation.
spiritual changes. So he went from not receiving revelation to receiving revelation. And then he went from a point where he hadn't received revelation for a while, when he actually climbed up on the mountain and he wanted to jump off. Today we would call that suicidal ideations, because he hadn't heard from Allah, and then he received the revelation. Do you think he went through emotional ups and downs? Perhaps we might call mood swings?
Of course.
I'm sure he went through ups and downs just dealing with 13 wives.
That's sometimes.
I mean, so I want us to focus, I just want you to sort of think today about change. Because I think what this verse really addresses the most that we're about to look at today is change. Is it 8 years? I'm politically forgetting it's every 4 years we have a new president unless he gets reelected, right? Okay. Don't we go through tremendous changes in the country every time there's a new person?
Yes.
And ruling the Illuminati or whatever. I mean, I don't mean to say it. But every time there's a new leader in any other country, we actually are affected by that, aren't we?
Yeah.
So change is the one constant that we're not exempt from. So let's look at this verse and let's talk some today about how change affects us and what we see about change here. The fools among the people will say, what has turned them from their Qibla, the prayer direction toward Jerusalem, to which they used to face in prayer? Say, O Muhammad, to Allah belongs both the east and the west. He guides whom He wills to the straight way. Thus we have made you an ummah, truly balanced, that you be witnesses over the nations, and the messenger Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam a witness over you. And we made the Qibla, which you used to face, only to test those who followed the messenger from those who would turn on their heels, that is, disobey the messenger Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Indeed, it was momentous change, except for those guided by Allah. And Allah would never make your faith, your prayers of no effect. Truly Allah is full of kindness, the most merciful to all people. Can you imagine for a moment that if today we all were told that we're no longer going to face Mecca, but we're going to face Hawaii? Can you imagine just mentally what it would do for you? It would be very upsetting because everybody would have to recalibrate all of their iPhone compasses, their
Android
Boy Scout
phones.
compasses, their Android phones. It would be, in all of the masajids would have to redirect where we pray. This would be an architectural feat for many people. But think about the political climate at the time when the Jews at that time, in that era, they were probably feeling really good that the Muslims were facing their holy city, so to speak. And now the Prophet receives this revelation to change. Brother Bassett.
I was going to ask, how long were they praying for Jerusalem before that changed?
Well, you're going to see two things in my presentation today. Some scholars say 10 months from the migration, some say 17. And I'm trying to find out, I'm trying to get the proofs for which one is more accurate. But it's between 10 and 17 months. But here's what I want you to think about. It was actually 13 years when the Prophet left Mecca that he had been praying in the direction of Ibrahim alayhi salam, which was the direction of the Kaaba. Think about it. Where else would he have prayed when he was in Mecca? So when he left Mecca, talk about a change. Those of us who have been to the Kaaba cannot explain it. We cannot articulate the blessings of the Kaaba. Now think about praying in the direction of a place that every single prayer gets 100,000 hasanat. Just leaving that. Imagine if you lived as a permanent resident in Mecca and you prayed there every day, knowing that 100,000 rewards were coming to you when you actually prayed there in the Masjid al-Haram. And then you migrated because of persecution. Do you think you would mourn and grieve the Kaaba? Absolutely. And then perhaps to be told, I want you to try to think in the context of the Muslims of that time, not in present day context. If you can do that, I'm stretching you a little bit today. So imagine that they migrated one time and that didn't work to Abyssinia. And then they migrated to Mecca. Predominantly, who was there when they got there? The Jews. Now, we're making peace with those Jews of that era. And all of a sudden we get a revelation you're not going to face where they face anymore. There's going to be a demonstration of solidarity and you are going to face the Kaaba.
The Jews face in a certain direction to pray?
Yeah, they would face still to this day, they face the wall in Jerusalem, and you know, they do the doubling. But
Yeah.
Sharon's not here today. You know, they do this.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah. So imagine how the Jews might have felt, those particular Jews, when the Muslims did something like completely turn the direction of prayer. Do you think they might have been threatened by that?
Yes.
Yeah, it was a huge statement. So just keep that in mind as we're looking at this verse today, because we are going to break it down sentence by sentence. And I'm trying to remember if it's this verse or verse 144 that has 5 sentences, but whichever one it is, we're going to break it down completely, inshallah. Imam al-Bukhari reported that Al-Bara bin Azib narrated, Allah's Messenger offered his prayers facing Bayt al-Maqdis in Jerusalem for 16 or 17 months. Now later you will see in the slides 10 months, but that's coming from a different scholar. Ma'ruf al-Quran, which is a commentary from Imam Hanafi, and Ibn Kathir both say 16 or 17 months. So I tend to lean toward that rather than the 10 months, but I was trying to find out why the difference. But he wished that he could pray facing the Kaaba, as we talked about at Mecca. The first prayer which he offered facing the Kaaba was the Asr, the afternoon prayer in the company of some people. Then one of those who had offered that prayer with him went out and passed by some people in a masjid who were in the bowing position, ruku'ah, during their prayers facing Jerusalem. He addressed them saying, "By Allah, I bear witness that I have offered prayer with the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam facing Mecca, facing the Kaaba." Hearing that, those people immediately changed their direction towards the house, the Kaaba, while still as they were in the same bowing position. So here they were in ruku'ah, and they got the message to change, and they immediately turned in their prayers.
Yeah.
This kind of change is about obedience. These people were not, I believe in what the messenger says, but I'm not ready for that today. They immediately changed. And I think this is something that we want to revive. We want to revive our abilities to change. And I think that living in a culture that is very self-gratifying, where we just about can get anything we want, just about any time we want it, makes it more difficult for us to be people of change. How many people does that resonate with? Yeah. I think the more you get your way, the harder it is not to get your way. And sometimes I talk to people that are senior to me that haven't been married for a long time, and they say, I couldn't get married again because I'm used to having it my way. I'm used to doing things like I want to do it. Some Muslims who offered prayers toward the previous Qibla before it was changed. Oh, and this is what I wanted to bring up, confusion. Change often brings about confusion, doesn't it? Uncertainty, doubt, worry, fear. So some of the Muslims who offered prayers toward the previous Qibla before it was changed toward the house, the Kaaba in Mecca, had died or had been martyred. And we did not know what to say about them regarding their prayers toward Jerusalem. So now the people are thinking, oh my God, there's a change and those people didn't know about it. Are they going to get credit for their prayers? What about the people that were ignorant, and ignorant in the nice way, just didn't know?
What does it mean to be martyred? Martyred.
To be martyred means to die for the cause of Allah. Allah then revealed verse 143, and Allah would never make your faith, your prayers, to be lost. The prayers of those Muslims were valid. So Allah reinforced them, the fear came about change, and Allah reinforced them and said, I will never make that which you've done be in vain. And there's a really beautiful thing, and I think I addressed this again in the class. What you don't know, you're not responsible for. And I think we should really remember this when we are working with reverts, and I'd be interested in your feedback, perhaps people who are re-engaging in Islam that had detached. When they ask us a question, I think the hikmah is sometimes to say, why are you asking that question? Does that question have to do with you? Do you really want to know the answer to that question? And I'm remembering when Naran embraced Islam about a year after me, right? Yes. And she said to me one day, what does the Quran really say about wearing hijab? And I said to her, do you really want to know? Because what you don't know, you're not responsible for. But if I tell you, then you know. She said, I think I don't want to know today. I'm not ready for that change. And I think that's powerful. And I think when we're working with people, what we have a tendency to do is to try to tell them everything the same day they embrace Islam. First of all, they can't remember it. Secondly, they can't handle it. It's called information overload. Anybody ever been there before? Yeah. We need to use hikmah with our people. We need to look at actual lessons. We need to look at the history of people that came to Islam and how they were dealt with, the loving manner in which they were dealt with. Abu Bukhari collected this narration, while Muslim collected it using another chain of narrators. Muhammad bin Ishaq reported that Baqarah narrated, Allah's messenger used to offer prayers toward Bayt al-Maqdis in Jerusalem, but would keep looking at the sky awaiting Allah's command to change the Qibla. Then Allah revealed Surah 144. Verily we have seen the turning of your Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam's face toward the heavens. Surely we shall turn you to a Qibla, a prayer direction that shall please you. So turn your face in the direction of Masjid al-Haram at Mecca. So what we actually know by this verse is that prior to the revelation that came for them to change the direction of the prayer, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was actually asking Allah, Oh Allah, perhaps it went like this, I long to face the Masjid of Ibrahim. I long to go back in my heart to that place when I pray. Jerusalem is foreign for me. And then we see here that the revelation reminds us of what he was going through. A man from among the Muslims once said, we wish we could know about those among us who died before the Qibla was changed, that is toward Mecca. And also about our own prayers that we had performed towards Bayt al-Maqdis. Allah then revealed this part in Surah 2, verse 143, and Allah would never make your faith, your prayers be lost. So when you do something for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, even if you don't have the knowledge, it's never in vain. Because it's based on what? Niyyah. It's based on intention. And this is part of the mercy of Allah. And I think this is so important because we see the rigidity of so many people. I was actually having a conversation with a very elderly brother in the community yesterday. I ran into him at a park and we were talking, and I was talking about the challenge of rigidity. People cannot handle it. It's such an extreme change. It's not a middle road. And Allah prescribed a middle road. He said that we are the people of balance. We are a balanced ummah. We don't take the most rigid, extreme, strict ruling on every single issue that comes up. We take a realistic, balanced approach that we can live with, that we can deal with. The fools among the people, meaning the people of the Scripture. Now, I was tempted to do it again today, but I've done it so many times. We know that there were prophecies in their Scriptures that you've all seen in this class, everybody except maybe 2 people, that predicted the coming of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So they knew he was coming. What made them change the former Qibla that they used to face? And Allah revealed Surah 2 and verse 142, the fools, the idolaters, the hypocrites, and particularly those Jews of that time among the people will say, Ali bin Abu Talha related that Ibn Abbas said, when Allah's messenger migrated to Al-Madinah, Allah commanded him to face Bayt al-Maqdis, Jerusalem. The Jews were delighted then. Allah's messenger faced Jerusalem for over 10 months. So this is the only scholar I could find that says 10 months, and this is Ali bin Abu Talha. But he actually said that Ibn Abbas said it. So this is what I'd like to get some clarity on. However, he liked to offer prayer in the direction of Prophet Ibrahim's Qibla, the Kaaba in Mecca, and used to supplicate to Allah and kept looking up to the sky, awaiting Allah's command in this regard. Allah then revealed verse 144. Turn your faces in prayer in that direction, meaning its direction. The Jews of that era did not like this change and said, what made them change the Qibla that they used to face, meaning Jerusalem? Allah revealed the last part of verse 142. Say, O Muhammad, to Allah belongs both east and the west. He guides whom He wills to a straight path. There's another verse that I would like